Hey there, Stephanie Mahaney. Welcome to the show. How the hell are you?
Oh, I am doing great. How are you?
I'm doing really well. We were talking in the green room about our acclimation to the Northeast. I'm in Maryland and you're now in Maine. And we're both from Florida. We're both Florida girls. So that's been a little bit of an adjustment, huh?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I originally grew up in New York, but Maine is a whole other thing. I feel like when you tell people you're from Maine, they sort of just get wide eyes and they're like, wow, must just be like covered in snow for months.
Do they talk to you about lobster? How's the lobster?
Oh, yeah. Lobster.
Okay, what do you prefer, Florida lobster or Maine lobster?
I prefer Maine lobster, but I have to say I'm not a huge lobster person.
I think Maine lobster's a little sweeter.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I like it. I know people in Florida are going to come after me with pitchforks, but it's true. I do love it. So that is what today's show is about relocating. So you're an amazing interior designer, hella talented. And guys, if you have a chance to go check out Stephanie Rae Interiors on Instagram, I mean, just check out your work. You're stunning. Your work is stunning. I mean, you're stunning as well, but you're super talented, right? So, and I'm not just saying that. That's what today's show is all about, is relocating and picking up your interior design business to you're not only serving Florida now, but you're relocating to Maine, and you put a whole team behind you for your social media, your website, and seeing what that looks like. And we have a lot of Wingnut clients who come to us to help them in that journey as well. You know, they might be coming to California to Delaware and just restarting that. And that's a tough thing. So talk to me a little bit about your journey, what that looks like, and the kind of help you've received in delegating that out, and what the future holds for you in Maine.
Yeah. I mean, we moved last January, literally on New Year's Eve, and we knew from the beginning sort of that we were going to need to brand our company for the first time. And I say our because my husband and I work together. I am the creative director of the interior design portion of our company, which is Stephanie Rae Interiors. And Chris actually is the CEO. So he sort of runs the behind the scenes, and he is running our building company as well, which we've started since moving to Maine. So that's one big thing we've noticed that's a little bit different here in Maine versus in Florida, is that we're seeing people moving into sort of houses that have been built already. Whereas in Florida, I think because it's a lot of second homes that I've worked on, at least, is people are willing to sort of buy a house that needs to be either torn down or gutted and wait, because it's, you know, they're not in there. They don't need their kids to be in school in September, and they don't need to move in right away. So it's a little bit of a different dynamic that we're finding up here. But yeah, from the get-go, we decided to hire a company called With Tandem, and they have been incredible. They branded our company for the first time. Really, Chris made my website, I think, 8 years ago. Wow. And we never even had a professional behind the website. I just got all my clients through word of mouth, which I was super lucky for, because I had been in Florida for so long. And I hired With Tandem. They did my branding, a business strategy intensive, which was incredibly helpful, especially in moving to a new place.
For sure.
And then also they created my website. And then once all of that was sort of going in the process, it was about a 6-month process. So about halfway through that, I hired a marketing and PR team, because just to get my name up here in the Northeast and figure out what methods would be the best to bringing in new clients and also exposing who I am, so that I could naturally and organically attract people that I would connect with, and ultimately hiring Wingnut Social as our social media presence. So.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you're one of our newer Wingnut clients right here, right? And we've been managing your Instagram and is it your Facebook as well, right?
Yes. Yeah. And it's been incredible, because the way I look at it is I love the expertise aspect of what we do in building and in interior design. And I am not an expert at branding, at PR, at social media. It's not something I'm an expert at. So why wouldn't I look to hiring people who are experts at that, so that I have the time and space to do what I need to do?
Yeah, and you know what, I love that about you because you're serious, right? You are seriously.
Yeah.
A lot of interior designers go into it kind of half. Well, maybe I'll do this and I'll dip my toe in, but you have everything lined up. You had the company for the website with the business strategy, your marketing for more organic and analog PR, right, for magazines and that kind of thing, and then you have your digital marketing, your social media marketing covered. So, I mean, you understood that is going to be a front-loaded investment to grow in a new area. And that is super important. And it's not an inexpensive investment, right? I'm sure that was a little intimidating at first. But I know it's going to pay off in spades. So this is relatively new with the marketing that you're doing, ramping it up, right?
Yes, definitely. It's a whole new world. And the more I am in it, the more I realize how valuable and important it is. Because especially as my company grows, there's even more stuff that I need to either put on social media or that I need to, send my photos out to different magazines, different things like that, it takes a lot of time. It takes a ton of time to do all of that marketing and advertising and social media.
It does. And it is a considerable investment that is front loaded, right? Like I said, but I'm telling you, you're going to see it pay off in spades. It won't be tomorrow. Maybe it won't be a month ago. It won't be 2 months ago or 2 months from now, maybe, but you are going to see that because the interior designers that I see that have all their ducks lined up in a row, like you have so thoroughly, superstars, right? Lifestyle brand superstars. So I'm really excited to see what the future holds for you. I mean, you've already done so much. I mean, looking at your work is stunning, but that's just really exciting for me. And I'm super happy to be a part of your team.
Thank you.
And to help watch you grow. Okay, so let's talk a little bit away from the team and the digital marketing, although if we want to get back to that, we can. I want to talk about the actual boots on the ground piece of networking in Maine, right? So if you're new, did you have any contacts or friends, or you have someone to show you the lay of the land, a mentor with interior design? Tell me how you're navigating that, moving to a new area.
Yeah, no, we didn't. We knew. So my husband and I both knew the same person, one person in Falmouth. And honestly, since then, anybody we connect with, we try to meet up and organically talk about our businesses. Our realtor has been incredibly helpful.
Nice.
Yes.
Good connection,
and up here, people are, it feels more old fashioned. People definitely are face to face. They're talking in person. They find people that they trust and that's how they work. You don't email, subcontractors. You really call them, you get on the phone, you meet in person. It's, which I like that part of the work because it is so collaborative, what we do as interior designers and builders. So I've found that.
Have you joined any groups like BNI or whatever that equivalent looks like in Maine? I'm sure they have a BNI chapter, or, gone to the interior design trade shows, or is there anything like that?
I went to High Point this year.
Okay.
Obviously that's in North Carolina. I plan to go to some of the shows in New York. I'm going to Miami Design Week.
Nice.
The thing with design, I feel like it is so international now. And so many of the people that I work with, vendor wise are from all over the place. But I really am trying to meet local workrooms and upholsterers and craftsmen. And so focusing more on that side of things. And then I will go to Boston Design Week and things like that.
Yeah. So, because you're high end, right? And you're a design build firm. So you're looking for bigger projects. So I imagine networking even with other interior designers in your area would be terrific because
definitely.
Right. There are projects that you are not wanting to handle, willing to handle. Maybe you're booked up that you could refer to them and vice versa. Maybe they're not design build. So that would be terrific as well for that. So let's talk a little bit about the aesthetic, right? So Miami has a very specific aesthetic, right? When designing for Miami clients, because I had an interior design firm in Miami for a few years. And now you're designing in Maine, right? Or that's the goal. Have you had to change your point of view or your design aesthetic at all? Or
definitely.
Okay.
I think at first, when I first moved here, I was like, well, I'm just going to do what makes sense for the space. But it was January, it was February, and then going through an entire year in all the seasons. I think it's more complicated designing up here.
Yeah.
Because you need a space that lives in the snow and in the summertime when it's green and beautiful and flowers. And I think you really need to pick materials, both building materials and furnishing materials that align with that. Yes, maybe a mohair chocolate brown sofa would look incredible in the wintertime, but how does that relate to when, you're coming back from the pool or something like that and it's 90 degrees out, So I think that aspect of it's really, really fun.
One thing I had trouble getting used to was, in Florida, there's so much CBS construction. Everything is concrete, right? And up here is, in Maryland anyway. I'm not sure. I've never been to Maine. I'd love to go. It's a lot of wood frame and there's vents in the floor.
Oh, yeah. There's a vent in the floor right behind me. Indeed.
I know. There's just so many and the building codes and everything is different. You have, crawl spaces under the house, which we didn't have to deal with in Florida. Thank God we have contractors and architects and stuff that, are there to help guide our way. But what are some of the educational routes that you've gone to learn, some of these new, not only just from an aesthetic wise and a functional wise, there's 4 seasons we're dealing with now, but from a building point of view, because your husband, right, is doing that part, right? So is there, how are you educating yourself on the new codes and all of that stuff?
Yeah, well, we moved up here and immediately started to do a barn project up in Northeast Harbor, which is a town that is sort of right adjacent to Acadia National Park. It is a town that is on the coast, but in the mountains at the same time. So extreme weather. Very beautiful, but very extreme weather. And it's an interesting project. It's both indoor and outdoor. We have this big barn space that holds a pickleball court and what will be a gym.
Nice.
And then it's closed off to an interior space that's for 4 seasons. And it has 3 bedrooms and a kitchen and a laundry room, essentially. So learned a ton up here, you don't have to have, say, hurricane rated doors and windows, but you have to think about the values of the windows differently. We thought, the windows are going to be less expensive up here. But the fact is they're really not, because you have to think about the R value and insulation when you're installing windows up here. So learning about all of that and just the styles in general, that particular project. In Florida, I feel like you can get away with more similar styles across the board. Whereas here you may have, our house, for example, is an early 1900s summer house that was converted to be an all seasons house. And it has original windows, but we have those storm windows on the outside. So this barn is completely new. It's like a forest kind of very sort of modern take on a barn. I'm loosely calling it a barn because it's a pool. There's a huge pool, and Lake Flato, the architects from Texas, they designed it, and the windows and doors are massive. There's an A-frame element to the structure, which is entirely floor to ceiling windows.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that sounds amazing.
It's amazing. So I think there's a little bit more flexibility with the style of building up here. You have a lot more flexibility with the types of windows and mullions and no mullions and people do wood frame, wood on the outside, wood on the inside. And that's exciting and totally different. I'm learning so much about different species of wood and all of that.
All right, you guys know, or at least I hope you know, or if you don't, I'm not doing my job, that we do full service social media management for you guys, interior designers, architects, and to the trade vendors or furnishing manufacturers, etc. But we are excited to announce our very new hybrid plan with Wingnut Social. It's kind of a half done for you, half you do it yourself sweet spot. If you're a beginning designer or a firm who's just really kind of getting started in social media marketing, but don't quite have the marketing budget to delegate it to a marketing firm, because that's a pretty decent size investment, right? This is our hybrid solution, and it's perfect for busy designers who you know the power of consistent professional content on Instagram. You've heard guest after guest and client after client say how they're getting leads from Instagram, right? But you have that overwhelm. You have no idea what to post, when to post, what the hashtags and captions should look like for a value proposition, a mix in order to reach your ideal client. Well, ta-da! Introducing the hybrid plan with Wingnut Social. You get a monthly content calendar where we create the content for you and you post at your leisure on your own time with our guidance. We're doing the posts, we're doing feed posts, we're editing reels for you. You get 8 feed posts, 2 reels. We're writing the captions for you. We are researching the hashtags for you that drive engagement with guidance, best practices, and quarterly strategy sessions to make sure that your strategy and everything is in alignment with your business goals. So if you want to find out some more information on our amazing hybrid plan, it's been very popular so far. Head on over to wingnutsocial.com and hit up that Let's Chat button and let's see how we can work together. Again, that's wingnutsocial.com. So has your aesthetic changed? Like, I'm looking at your aesthetic. In your aesthetic, you have a lot of traditional elements, a lot of transitional elements, a lot of contemporary elements. Miami's a lot of contemporary, right?
Yeah.
Have you found that you're adjusting to maybe a more traditional? Are you incorporating some more traditional, some more artisan things in there? Tell me about the art piece of your gift.
Yeah. I think every project, as you know, is different and unique. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we do this by selecting, high-end natural materials and colors, and also incorporating the landscape into it and making sure that this structure, this design, it makes sense with the landscape that's around it. Because so often we're in our house, but looking outside and looking at the trees, looking at whatever is around us. And I think both things want to talk to each other and they want to be a part of each other. So we're doing, we have a carriage house on this property that we are renovating and turning into our garage. And we're working with there's a lot of, I think, more sustainable design up here, which I'm really incredibly excited about.
That makes sense.
Yeah, we're working with a reclaimed lumber yard called Longleaf Lumber. And basically they take down old barns, old structures. They have fallen trees and they mill wood. They mill wood for floors, for wall planking, for beams, for trusses, for everything. So we're using a lot of their materials for this project we're doing out here for our office. And yeah, it's a totally, totally different game up here. It is working with people collaboratively. It's a lot of people who have smaller companies in Florida because there's just so much constant work and people want it done so quickly. You find that the companies, they're very specialized and there's a ton of people. You call a painter and 25 people show up and they get the job done. Whereas here, you call a painter and it's a smaller, more detail-oriented work because you have moldings that are 100 years old. You can't just get in here and spray it all down and hope for the best.
Which happens a lot in Miami.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a slower pace where I am too. And that was quite a bit of an adjustment. So which Miami or Maine, which suits your personal aesthetic better? I mean, you mentioned the sustainability aspect and you're really excited about that. Are you feeling Maine a little bit more or do you not want to differentiate?
No, I love Maine. I love it for my kids. There's more space here. I think there's more space for me to be creative, space both mentally and physically. Like I could, if I wanted to, take a bunch of stuff out into my driveway and stencil something, or I can play a little bit more up here. Whereas just physically space in Florida, I don't have the space for it. You park your cars in your driveway and you have like a little square of space and that's it. So I'm excited about that. I love that we get to go and travel down there. Because how nice is that to take your shoes off in the middle of winter? But
very. I miss it.
Yeah. So I feel lucky that we have projects in both places.
Yeah. So which is great segue because I'm going to ask you, you're still planning in the far future on taking projects in Florida and Maine, or are you eventually going to transition and just do only Maine?
Yeah, we have a building company in Florida and in Maine. So, we have a great team down in Florida. So, we are planning to do both. And it's relatively easy to travel back and forth. Me personally, for like a new construction, I could be on site 4 to 5 times total. At certain junctures throughout the process. So that's really not too bad. And if I can bunch the projects together, it works out okay. But we don't take on a ton of projects at a time. We're very specialized. So we'll work on like 2 to 4 projects a year.
Yeah, again, high-end design build, right?
Yeah.
So since you're more established in Florida and Maine is new, tell me a little bit about your marketing efforts in like percentage. Not we, is just Wingnut Social, but overall is your whole marketing plan and strategy 75%? Let's establish ourselves in Maine and let Florida just kind of, ride that existing wave, or what is the plan there?
Yeah, I think we're pretty much half and half still. And and what we've decided in Maine, what we're seeing is that people, like I said, want these houses that are done and they can move in, and it's not so much of a headache. It's just different people up here. It's a cardiac surgeon and he has 3 kids and he wants to move into his house and doesn't want the stress of it. So what we're really thinking of doing is developing, and we're really excited about it. We found a project. It's like it's been in one family for 90 years, and the house needs to be torn down and nobody knows what to do with the lot. And so we're working with an architect who, Chris, actually was his first job before college. He worked at this architect's firm, and he now lives in Maine. So we're all working together to create a high-end residence on this piece of property. And the plan would be to furnish it and probably fill the kitchen and just have it be ready for somebody to come with their suitcases and move in. So
that's awesome.
Less of a spec home, because we don't really like the idea. We're going to use high-end finishes. We're going to build it just like as if we had a client, and furnish it and see what happens.
I love that. That's terrific. I mean, someone's definitely going to want that. Just turnkey, move in ready, furnished and everything.
I know, right? Like you don't even have to buy plates.
Yeah, there was my wife and I are considering relocating to North Carolina, actually, and there was a house there. It was like on 15, 20 acres, and the land was really nice, but the house I'm looking at it, I'm like, can that be saved? Is that going to be a tear down?
Yeah.
That's a lot of work. My goodness. You want to go to North Carolina? My wife doesn't want me to do it. She doesn't want me to have the headache. Do you want to help me design a house in North Carolina?
Yeah, exactly. I know. I'll do it. North Carolina is so beautiful. Oh my gosh. Yeah. But it's a huge headache, and it's years of your life.
And that's what she doesn't want. She's like, no offense, but I want someone else to project manage it because I want my wife back.
Yeah, it's so much work, and it's a labor of love. You know?
For sure. But that sounds incredible. I can't wait to see that project. Okay, so what advice would you give someone who's thinking about, moving? Like there's designers, I got to relocate, but I got to pick up my whole business. Let's just say they're not even keeping the existing one, right? And I'm moving to a new area and I'm overwhelmed. How's it going to work? What steps do I need to take? What would your best advice be for that designer listening?
Oh yeah, I would start with calling Renee from With Tandem. Starting with like a 1-hour business strategy, explain what your business is now, explain sort of your vision for where you're going to go. And she also will help with what she sees that you may not see. Sometimes it's easier just to have somebody else look at you and say, this is what I'm seeing. Does this align with what makes sense for you? And having that conversation and from there, depending on how much money you have to put towards this, because it is quite expensive, and I think it's 100% worth it. But what stage of your business? Where are you with it? What makes sense? Do you want to move and just start with business strategy and really hone in on that, or do you want to move forward with the whole thing? Because I think branding, making, for example, our colors, we have colors that relate to Florida and we have colors that relate more to Maine. We have a lime green in our branding kit, but we also have, like a lavender, and we have a deep purple, plum purple and green. And I think, knowing that moving to a new place and what appeals to people is really important.
They did a terrific job. I'm telling you, it represents both locations perfectly. And if you'd have said, hey, Maine and Florida, let's, branding, let's get this done. Let me see the hex codes. I'd have been like, well, that's going to be a tough one. I mean, I guess you have the water element, so that's good.
Yes.
Right. So yeah, they did a really beautiful job with your branding and your website.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think having a great website where people, you can also, if you're going somewhere, going to an event in your new location, you can bring business cards, you can share your website, share your Instagram, because we know now like Instagram is truly a portfolio. Yeah, it is where people, not only clients, but, people on the marketing side of things, they go to and they look and they see, is it professional? What does this person stand for? What are their projects like? And I think that all of those things, having that online presence is incredibly important.
Yeah, it's a game changer.
Yeah.
And you have to have it anymore. Stephanie Rae Mahaney, thank you so much for your insight on this. I'm so excited to see, you grow in Maine and to see your continued growth in Florida. But now I have to ask you, are you ready for the What Up Wingnut round?
Yes.
What would the hashtag on your tombstone be?
Okay, so I said meet me in the field, and this hashtag meet me in the field. This took a really long time for me to figure out. I was unsure. I don't know. I think it was a stressful thing to think about, but I kept coming back to this, and honestly, like I'm so in line with this, and it's from the Rumi poem, which sounds so like heavy and deep, but I just love this as a concept for business and personal. And I'll just read like the first two sentences: is out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. And it's just, doesn't have to be right and wrong. It doesn't have to be like feeling so difficult what choices you're making in design. And I think so often it feels so stressful, but it's such a luxury. It's so much fun. Like we get to do this. We get to choose colors. So
I have to say, Stephanie, I think that hands down is the best answer I've ever received today. I got a little verklempt. That was beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
That was really, I love it. But now you're stuck on a deserted island. You can have your one favorite food forever. What is it?
This is nachos with guacamole on top. Is this cheating?
No, not at all.
Okay.
It's fine. It's a dish.
It's
Dishes
a dish.
count, right?
Yes.
Is there cheese? Any protein?
Oh, cheese.
Okay.
I think beans and protein. And I just figure, it's flexible. I could take apart from the edge, or I could be in the middle.
Guacamole is so packed with protein and vitamins and essential fat. You're going to survive forever on this island.
Forever.
I love it. Very smart.
Yes.
Last but not least, please recommend a book that's impacted you in a personal or professional way.
Yes, The Fountainhead by Anne Rand.
Nice.
Yes.
Love Anne Rand.
Love so much. And it is about Howard Rourke's, struggle with conformist mediocrity. And I think it's easy to slip into mediocrity, to not like checking your lists and making sure everything's right. But I think I'm so lucky to be in this field of building and design, because it takes time, and there's time to do things right and time to do things really, really well.
Yeah. I love Ayn Rand. I read Atlas Shrugged when I was in college.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to get my wife to read it. And it is a little bit of a, you have to really focus and sit. It's a 1,000-page book.
I know.
But I love it. That's terrific.
Yes. The Fountainhead is easier, I think, to get into.
Is it? I haven't read
Shrugged.
that one yet.
Yeah, a little bit.
I'll have to put that on. I have to get back into reading. I'm into audiobooks. I've been so lazy, just audiobooks and multitasking, but I need to get back into reading. Stephanie Rae Mahaney, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for being a Wingnut client. Again, I'm so excited to see what the future holds for you. Please tell the Wingnuts listening where they can go to find out more about you, and we'll call it a day.
You can go to my website, which is so long, www.stephanieraeinteriors.com, or social media is at Stephanie Rae Interiors.
And that's RAE.
RAE, yes.
Yeah. www. I always giggle when people say that, because it shows me.
I started internet when you still had to log into AOL.
Right? Remember that? Yeah, I do too. Stephanie, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.